Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This week, we'll talk about house flipping. Stay with us until the end. You don't want to miss this. Chris, Calgary is leading the country in house flipping, but seasoned flippers warn about the challenges and risks. In this video, we will explore the factors fueling Calgary hot house flipping market, the strategies investors use, and the critical advice for newcomers. Whether you're curious about real estate trends or considering your first flip, this story has valuable insights. And to start with that, Chris, I would like to ask you if, in your experience in the Calgary market, how do you see the flipping? And is it true that it's so in vogue right now in Calgary?
In vogue's probably the right thing to say with that. It's a good definition of where it's at right now. It's a bit of a buzzword.
Exactly. Buzzword,
yeah. So people are getting into it left, right, and center. Either flipping, well, and not only flipping, but the building side, the development side. Suddenly, everybody's becoming a builder. Every realtor that is new and getting into the market is getting into these assignment sales or investment groups. I'm part of a few of them on Facebook, just kind of monitoring what's out there, frankly. And there's a lot of people that don't really understand what they're doing with a very expensive game to be venturing into. Vogue is a good word for it. Definitely buzzword, and something that probably should be a little bit better thought out before people jump into something like this. Because even if they come out flush, when you start factoring in a lot of the other things that going in with this, you could be running yourself into a bit of trouble. And something I don't think a lot of people realize too is they're on the hook for warranties for this work when you do major renovations and flip this stuff as well. You got to be careful.
Yep, it's true. I started flipping homes before being a real estate broker. After I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. So it's true. That was the year 2002, 2003, and 2004. The market wasn't that excited, let's say. Okay, it was not that volatile, but it was going up. Okay, so literally almost every transaction, if you did it with a minimum discipline, it will get you some profit. So I had the chance. I had the chance to make a good money on every flip that I did. I didn't do hundreds of them. The tens, but I always got a little bit of profit. But one property in Candiac, which almost ruined me because the way it was done. And we'll do a podcast, at one point, because it's really, people have to watch out for traps when they do that. And if that wouldn't work the way it did, because I had to work for it and fight for it, I would have lost close to $300,000. So all the profits that were made before, almost all of them would have disappeared. So I really liked when you said that people have to, have experience and make sure and take the time to verify and not jump on a project like there's no tomorrow. Okay, that's a very good point.
Yeah, well, there's so many factors that come into that too, and so many that you have veritably no control over and have become in markets like this particularly extremely tough to forecast. Extremely tough.
That's my point. Back then, you knew the prices was going up.
Yeah.
Because of the market. But now it's not that short. Also the location, right? The location is very important for a flip. Very important.
Yeah. When I don't, even I, years into this, didn't realize just how big of a thing that was. Our site has broken down market stats by community and then broken down into different subtypes, and doing comparisons on extremely similar communities that are side by side, and seeing massive differences in the way that the
Yeah.
two communities, almost the exact same house, just a mile apart in a different community, have reacted to the market changes has been, I'll tell you, quite astounding to me, even after all these years. Like, it's, if you go in blindly with the market's up, and so we're going to do great on this flip, yeah, you stand a lot better chance of just not doing too well. But I guess you could get over paralysis by analysis as well, trying to get too deep into it and just kind of forgetting the core of buy a good property, something with good bones, make it nice, not too nice.
Yeah.
And resell it, and try and do it in a fairly short time, but don't forget about doing good work to it.
Yeah, that's true. And you said something that is very important, and I want to repeat it. You're on the hook for warranties, because most of us, I didn't start as a company. I was buying homes on my personal name. So when you sell them, you were supposed to do the work. So you have to sell them with a warranty.
Yeah.
Because you probably, a few of them, I bought it from the bank with no legal warranty. That's why I paid so little. So when you renovate and you sell, people expect you to give the warranty. And if you're not incorporated as a company, literally people can come back to see you 10 years after, and you're on the hook personally for that home. So that's very, very, very important to understand.
Yeah.
Very important point. And especially after first, let's say you do one, you like it, you made some profit. Especially the first one, it's a lot of experience, more than profit. But let's say you did a little bit of profit,
Very true.
And then incorporate yourself. Take that profit and incorporate yourself. Make a company out of it. And that's a very important advice. What do you think about it?
And just research it. Like, literally, I mean, depending on what province you're in, if you're here in Alberta, go into the Alberta New Home Warranty site and just do a little research. Am I supposed to be warranted for this? What is my risk? What are the costs? What are the limitations? How long does this go? How long does this go for the different sectors? Do I qualify under a major renovation? Do I not qualify? Don't try and jaunt the rules, because you could end up paying pretty strongly. I think the long and the short of it is, if everything's good and glory, you're setting yourself up for some big problems down the road. Because even when you've got really easy things happening now, when stuff goes sideways a little down the road,
and it will,
relationship will fall. Yeah, and it absolutely will. Yeah,
that's numbers game. Numbers game. If you do 10 flips, one of them will have average to big problems. It's just numbers game.
Yeah. And the number of people that we see that are kind of trying to cheat it a little bit. Oh, we didn't need permits for it. Well, in fact, actually, if you're having a renovation done, many of the contractors, period, do this. Yeah, you don't need a permit for that.
It's so true.
Well, maybe you do. Yeah. A lot of them don't.
Call the city hall first.
Yeah, right. Like, if you do a bit of electrical work on your property, you're just moving a few plugs around. We're just keeping them here, but we're moving to some different spots. Well, you might be under the hook for having to redo a chunk of that because of arc fault, which is a newer code, which I actually fairly recently talked to an electrician about, but he was commercial. He didn't realize that was the case. Well, if an electrician who's not necessarily in that field doesn't necessarily know about that, the common man may not have a clue what you're doing on a bunch of that stuff either. You should probably be doing a little bit of looking into it, which I'm sure we'll be covering off later with contractors. But It's true. Figure out what you need to know, on the building side, on the design side, and on the market side. Take all that advice into heart before you start going off on those projects.
Well said. Well said. Let's see this article from CTV. So Calgary leads Canada in house flipping, but those who do it say approach with caution. And this is funny because this is exactly what we're talking about. Like everyone is a flipper, it's a builder now, and this is a broker. Okay, so you've likely watched on reality TV. Someone buys a home, renovated, and resells it for profit. It's known as house flipping. And as it turns out, Alberta, particularly Calgary, leads the country at it. Okay, so the example is Lara Mitchell has worked in real estate for nearly a decade and helped find her sister a home in August. But turns out she didn't want it, so now I'm flipping it. Lara says.
Yeah.
So she bought it. She bought the duplex around $430,000, and it's putting $50,000 into renovations, right? So that's $480,000. She hopes to sell for around $550,000, turning a $70,000 profit. So she said, so far we changed the floors, going to paint it as well. And then Lara, has been flipping for the past 6 years and say the market for it has never been hotter.
Yeah.
In fact, Calgary leads the country. We said that a couple of times. And Edmonton follows. Look at that. Alberta number 1. Followed by Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto at just 1%.
Yeah.
Okay. So I started in Montreal, and I didn't do any flips in Alberta yet. So Montreal, it's probably different, but here I believe you have way more possibilities because of the prices are not that high. Because now in Montreal, I used to do flips in Brossard, so I had a partner, a contractor with a license, and we were buying homes in A neighborhood. All the names of the streets start with A. That's why it's called the A neighborhood. Yeah, A or B or C. It's really funny. It's I don't know but that city in Quebec does that. Brossard.
That's funny.
And we were buying it for between 130 to 180, 185,000. Small bungalows, like probably 30 by 30, and demolish them and build semi-detached on them. Semi-detached. And each semi-detached, back in 2013, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, they were selling between 365 and 440. You understand?
Yeah.
And they were costing less than 300 each. So less than 300 each. So we were making good profit. But that is it's almost impossible to do that in Montreal right now, because all the homes, everything is so expensive. Okay, that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because I believe in Alberta is different, and I believe there's space for making a profit when you do a flip.
Yeah. Well, I gotta address some of that right now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta address. There's actually a lot to unpack in that article that you just read about. And I fully agree that there's definitely space to be doing that in Alberta. I don't know that I would agree that it's too easy in Calgary right now, though.
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton, I think you guys are prime spot for that.
Yeah.
And I think you could learn from what the Calgary market did. So if you're, and I think this is really important to do. If you're an investor, you're looking at doing some flips, or you're just looking at getting into this, and you live in the Edmonton area, just as an example, look at what's going on there, and then look at Calgary and what happened here. And forecast that there's a very good chance that you're gonna mirror what has been happening here for a while. So within that article, she bought a property, she found out she didn't like it, and she's flipping it. That is a major contributor to our numbers. I believe this this year on why we're so high and so much higher than the rest of the country.
Mhm.
We had that crazy market going on. Because I've seen a number of the sales here that have been happening over the last little bit. Somebody buys a property, they're desperate. Maybe they've sold their property, maybe they just moved, maybe they forecast that they're going to be homeless, maybe they're just sick and tired of paying these unbelievable rents, or their lease is coming due, whatever it is, but they buy a property and they settle. Worse yet, they settle in competitive offers and offered way more than they should have.
Yeah.
I've had properties that we've had listed this year that had one showing, and the guy comes in over offer.
Yeah.
Or like over ask price.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys now are then, this house is horrible, or it doesn't suit my needs, or that is an incredibly busy street, or there's no backyard, or there's no storage, or whatever it is. These guys are actually now going in and selling because they brought the wrong property. That is a flip.
Mm-hmm.
In these statistical numbers, if it happens within a year, that is a flip. That was just a bad purchase to begin with. And a number of them that we've seen are selling for way under what those guys purchased for. Substantially under. Now, the other side of it, and I've been on there too, just timing wise, buy a property. Oh my God, this thing appreciated like crazy over the past year. I've been in here a month and I made 20%. From the time I put in the offer to where the market went, like, why wouldn't we sell? Like, I was going to keep this property. We were going to keep this one as a revenue property, the past one that we were in. Like, no chance, man. We're selling. We've hit our appreciation. So, that counts as a flip too, but it wasn't actually a flip.
Mm-hmm.
But just because of the short period of time, kind of the opposite side of what happened on the other one. But we're seeing more and more of those sorts of things that are affecting things. Now, if that article and that sister bought in the high, discovered it wasn't right for her, and she's basing her, her potential on the market that she's in right then and there. And I don't know when she actually did the purchase, but we're in a different market now.
Yep.
Yeah. So if that thing was worth 400, a year earlier, and then you bought it for 500 because that's where the market went, and so you're going to put 50,000 in and expect to get another 150 or 200,000 from it. That may not be happening here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Edmonton, it might.
It might. When we first came here in April 2023 to check it out, we rented the Airbnb. It's a small bungalow with a basement. The person rented the basement $45 and the upper level $55, which is a very good deal. Okay, but those type of homes, they're like listed for $130,000 last year. I also saw a house compared to that one at 92,000. Okay. Yeah. But right now you can get it for 130, 150, those type of homes. 150 to get $3,000 in return from Airbnb. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And after a while, when you paid some of it, then you can renovate and sell it, or just demolish it and build a semi-detached or 3 townhomes. Yeah. It's true. Edmonton is primed for flipping. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
and, now that I'm talking about it, I should do some tours outside, see what's up.
No doubt. And that's a really good point. With the house, I mean, you're buying the land. Really, at the end of the day, what you're buying is the land.
130. Like Montreal, you got nothing less than 300,000 plus taxes. Plus, you have to build with the contractor that sells that to you, so you can charge 150,000 in profit over the construction costs. Okay, so it's probably 2 to 3 times for the same lot. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, fair. Now, I guess the flip side of that though too is if you are looking at doing something like that and you're buying the land, really, you're investing in the property, fix it, rent it, Airbnb it, whatever you're doing, but you're really buying the land, which I think is a solid way to go. If you're not a builder, just be careful on that, on becoming a builder, because like we said, I mean, that is, everybody wants to be a builder these days. I literally can't tell you how many people that I work with that are just suddenly builders, or you hear about that are suddenly builders, or they were somehow connected into the building trade, and so now they're a builder. But I've been into some of these properties that they're building that are still at framing stage, and I'm like, oh my god, like what is this? Seriously, like what is this? We were going to represent a few of them that we've stepped away from because it's wow. So if you're on the buying side too, you got to be careful on this right now.
Oh yeah.
Do a little research into who your builder is, and how long they've been in business, because it's there's some interesting stuff going on out there right now, and we haven't really seen it turn too bad yet, but hopefully that stays the case, because there's a lot of stuff just being slapped together.
Exactly. Yeah. Hope for the best.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But experts say things are turning around faster in Alberta, like we talked about, thanks to the influx of people moving to the province in search of a more affordable home. Okay, that is something that I want to bring to the table. Search of a more affordable home. A lot of people come here for more affordable homes.
Yeah.
And when they get here, they want to be a turnkey ready. That's another thing that I wanted to highlight, because that's why people buy it. Like if you have a turnkey house, beautiful, renovated, it'll sell, and well priced to make a profit. So that means you have to buy it at a good price. It starts at the buy, and it starts knowing the location, and also the way the home is built. Okay, so that's that. I understand that if you can see the value in a home, and you can negotiate a lower price than the market, then you have big chances of the flip to be a success. But you have to know the location, the construction, and to buy it at a lower price than the market.
Yeah,
it's very simple.
Yeah, sure. And one little caveat to that. I personally feel you're better off to overpay for the right property a bit. Within reason. But overpay a little bit for the right property than underpay for the wrong one.
Yeah,
and that kind of comes down to
it's true.
And really what you're buying and the price you pay for it and are paying it, because just kind of understanding what exactly the property is that will match what you're trying to accomplish with it. So don't just go looking for the deals. People that go looking for the deals usually end up in the bad.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Good construction and great location.
Solid bones, great location. Yeah.
Exactly. Solid bones, the structure. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's he says this guy, his name is Neritan Grenchi from NLG Renault's contractor. So it says it's very busy. Actually, we are very booked now, getting houses for next year. And this guy has been flipping homes for the past 20 years, and said the demand for renovation is sky high, obviously. And he hopes to turn a 20% profit on a townhouse in the Northwest that was stripped to the bones. But says Calgary competitive market, nothing is guaranteed. Like your point. Yeah. Even if this guy is doing this for the past 20 years, and he acknowledges what you just talked about. In Calgary competitive market, and that's all over the country, not only Calgary, nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
And there's risk for flipping, and you got to be careful for the budget too. You could spend more. Okay. And the last thing on this article. So when you start opening walls, you start opening a can of worms that you need to fix, Mitchell said. Okay. And when I was doing real estate as a real estate broker and flipping, I was hearing a lot of do not open the walls.
Right.
Which was funny, because people expect you to buy it from a bank, renovate, or for someone, whatever, lower price, renovate it perfectly, and then sell it, because that's why you're making the profit. But that's one thing I wanna share. That so many contractors in Quebec, there was like, do not open the walls. Don't open the walls.
Yeah.
That's number one. You see, that's number one thing when you flip homes. You don't open the walls.
Right. when that creates a bit of a conundrum, right? Like,
Of course.
so one of the biggest things I'll give for advice on the whole flipping thing. There is an appraisal company that does every year. They do. I can't remember the name of it, to be perfectly frank. The company, but if you Google return on investment on renovations, I think the majority of people, they think, well, I put in this very nice blah blah bathroom, and so I just increased the value of the property $100,000 because I put $15,000 into a bathroom. Well, if you put $15,000 into a bathroom, you probably increased the price of the home by $10,000.
Yeah.
Not by 100, not by 50, not by 20, not by even by the 15 that you put into it, but by 10.
Yeah.
So like most everything in kitchens and baths are the biggest large renovation output that you can do, but they're running around 80%, right? So just going in with the plan on doing a renovation like this and making a profit on it, it isn't likely. If you're doing it yourself, now you're suddenly saving a whole bunch of the money, so long as you're proficient at doing some of the stuff, and some stuff's definitely easier than others. Now you're into a little bit of a different ball game. But I think where the large part of where you would actually see large financial gains is if you're doing a chunk of the work yourself, outsourcing other bits, but you are expanding the basis of the house. And that is usually something that's closed off a bunch of rooms and opening it up.
Yeah.
So now you've got an open concept house.
It's true.
But you run into that risk, which is
opening walls.
Yeah, right. And it's almost guaranteed that it's going to increase your budget. Not
for sure.
Likely, it's guaranteed. Yeah. So
close to guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed in life, but you can almost guarantee there's a problem if you open walls.
Yeah, it's very,
especially basement. Like it's basement, I can bet on it.
Yeah. When anything around, water sources, bathrooms, kitchens,
exactly.
And you start moving some appliances there. Oh, that toilet's been leaking for a while. It's got rot. And, that toilet or that shower, that old dingy shower that, we got this place because it's kind of beat up. It's great. It's fine because we're moving it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, the acrylic that they didn't replace because they're not spending the money on that. It's a giant gap. I got a particular house in mind with it. The amount of mold that's back there is probably unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the amount of work that you've got to do that now affects other things and potentially unbelievable as well. So you got to kind of pull all this in and then factor for it and then double your budget. And, can I still make a profit on it? Because it may very well be the case. Double the amount of time and double the budget. And quite often, if you don't do that, you end up with not nearly the nice property that you thought you were going to end up with, because at the end, that's when things start to fall apart, because that's when your budget starts to fall apart. And that stuff really shows right off the bat. Can't tell you the number of houses that I've walked into where they lost it at the end. They lost the ambition, they lost the money, they lost the trades coming in, they lost the time to do this flip because they've got holding costs throughout the year. And the finishing work is just bloody horrible. It may have started awesome, unbelievable. They're putting the most expensive piping in there. Who knows? But the finishing work is horrible. So people are walking in, they're just getting a bad sense of the property and they're walking back out, or they've got great stuff throughout, but none of it quite matches because a designer didn't do it. I did it one day at Home Depot. I picked out all the nicest things that I could find, but none of it quite goes together. It's all great, but none of it quite works. And I don't get that because my wife tells me there's 3,000 shades of white.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that.
It's so true, Chris. It's so true. Exact. That's the story of so many flippers. And I also, we bought, I also did flips alone or in partnership. And I remember one house in Saint Hubert, we bought it as a partnership from a person that started to do the flipping. And we bought the materials and everything, like the gyps and paint and everything, hardwood. He was putting hardwood in a very, very good hardwood in a 1967 or 68 townhome.
Yeah.
That's because they were selling back then like $260, and only the hardwood was like 4,000 something. Only the material. I'm not talking about the 5, 6, 6, 7,000 to install it on both floors. Anyway,
that's a really easy trap to fall into. Hey,
exactly.
Going absolutely overboard on one thing or a couple things, and then forgetting the rest of the house or the whole house. Storage.
Very good point.
I actually, my wife and I both fell in love with a house when we were looking around kind of the first time before we ended up doing this house, which is a brand new build. And we just didn't do it because storage.
Yeah.
And we didn't like the location of the laundry. And it was a house flip too. It was but it was those little things that then kept it on the market for longer. Loved the place. Not making that laundry room work. Where am I going to put the stuff? So it sat and it sat and it sat. Once again, I'm sure that flipper was like, oh yeah, this thing's amazing. It's going to sell in no time. I have no problem with this thing selling, but the buyers are tend to be a little bit pickier on what they're looking for. And they may not be thinking it's quite the hot shit that the flipper does.
Yeah.
Because certain other things come into mind with that. Yeah, the house is beautiful, but there's many other beautiful homes that are available.
Oh, yeah. Well. Of course.
And maybe even for less.
Exactly.
Don't forget about those other factors. Just
exactly. Exactly. Very well said. Well, Chris, I found the article. Not an article, but the return on investment on renovations.
Oh, perfect.
So the average return on investment for home renovation is 69%.
Well, sounds about right. Yeah.
But you said it like exactly on the money. But the return on investment can vary depending on the project, obviously. But this is what I found funny. A 2018 Royal LePage study, and they are very good. I work with them like for 11 years. Found that kitchen remodeling can increase a home's value by over 12.5. Okay, so it depends of the house. That's my point. Because let's say you do a remodeling on a home of 400,000. If we calculate this, it means that we will have an increase of 50,000, right?
Yeah.
12.5 out of 400 is $50,000. So, but what if the remodeling costs you 65? Because those days, like when the kitchen is 25,000, are gone. Way behind us.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think that's important to know too, that like the whole lipstick job and some of the things that you can do with that. If you've got a decent place with good bones and it needs something, you can zhuzh things up fairly easily in a spot like a kitchen.
Yeah.
By, not moving everything and not putting in brand new cabinets, but maybe refacing the cabinets.
Exactly. That's how I was doing almost every time.
Right. And that can make a huge difference. Yep. Reface a cabinet.
Exactly.
Put in nice countertops.
Exactly.
White,
exactly.
Something, timeless.
Exactly. The color. Exactly. The color. I was using white a lot of the times.
Yeah, good backsplash with refacing.
Backsplash.
Well,
ceramic in the kitchen. If you got like a plastic tile, Liam.
Yeah, right. Flooring, that kind of. Yeah. One of the things we find people will do quite often is like, okay, so we've got this old oak farm, 80s oak farm. It's in great condition, so we're gonna match it into the kitchen.
Yeah,
because it's got lino. Don't match it into the kitchen.
No.
It never matches. You're the only one that it matches because you're trying to make it
so much work.
Oh, it's like, but
just a ceramic, beautiful ceramic that the color will be very close to the other color.
Yeah,
you understand, and it looks even better than try to match something that was not matching, and people can clearly see that's a botched job.
Well, it's unbelievable how much you see that, even well done, but it's just like
it's true. It's so true.
It just doesn't quite match. A friend of my wife's, Bridget Merchant, She runs a company called Bloom Kitchen Renovations. So they kind of specialize in cabinet refacing. But she has an expression, and a little throw out to her because I think it's well worth a lot of people looking into. Cheap and cheerful.
Yeah.
Like most designers, and she is a designer by trade. Most designers, it's like full bore and it's high end, and the lighting is like, forget it. The lighting is my entire kitchen budget. But you can do these things cheap and cheerful, but you got to do them smart.
Yeah.
Right. And, well put together, well organized. Even just, guys, honestly, do a little research online for what colors match with what colors, and what's in right now, but once again, timeless, because, a lot of people, this may not flip right away, it might be a little bit, or the people that are looking in it, some places are slower to adapt. Calgary is a very slow to adapt place. Things will be in vogue, on trend for a year or 2 years before it kind of makes its way here and becomes a little bit more commonplace.
Before it makes its way to Edmonton.
Yeah, that's it, right? I don't know, man. Just checking out some of those things out. Make it, cheap and cheerful, timeless, and well put together. And you probably got a pretty good winning formula for doing things properly and having the whole place match. So you don't have a beautiful, amazing kitchen, but then you walk out of that room and you think you walked into an entirely different house because it just doesn't quite feel right or the same. Yeah, all those little things, they really do add up into you making a profit. And I will say, when we were buying this place, we eventually bought this place, running into all these renoed places, us looking for ourselves, I would say of the house flips and the reno spots that we saw, I would say at least 80% of them, they missed the mark. It was good. It was nice stuff, but it missed the mark. And that's why they sat on market. And that's why they ended up, doing price reduction after price reduction and costing the people money. And eventually those people probably just decided this wasn't the right gig for them. It wasn't everything it's made out to be. But I can tell you of a couple, and one particularly that we lost out on because it sold first day. I was so impressed with this guy. We actually met the flipper because he stopped by because he had to change out a door. So he just stopped while people were there. We happened to be those people, and we were stopped and chatted with him. And he got it. I walked in, I said, honey, a woman designed this, and she's got a very good sense of taste and color. So we're talking to the guy, and it turns out that he did, but he's got a really good sense of everything. And things just looked good and looked nice, and it all flowed. And he didn't do anything that was really crazy, all that expensive either, but he just did everything really nice and well. Like you can do a lot of stuff like that, even just with millwork. You can get MDF and millwork some stuff into your house, and then just have it all painted white, nice neutral color, timeless. Yeah. And it looks fantastic. And it looks super high end, but doesn't have to be super expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. Bloom is also like a hinge company.
Right. Blum, I think, is the hinge company. Yeah. BLUM. High end. Hinges.
High end. And also Hettich. It's a German company as well. I used to work for Hettich.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Sales representative in Eastern Canada.
Yeah. It's amazing how
the competitor was Blum.
Right. Okay.
But Hettich is like with the hinges, man. Wow. Yeah. It's so soft. It's like that's way back in 2005. Okay, so that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you understand that back then when you was looking at the drawers that look closing like a cloud, you understand, like so soft, like it was amazing to see the hinges of the drawers with the ball bearings and everything. It's a good technology. It's amazing. Blum and Hettich.
Yeah. Being in that industry, I think you would have a lot greater appreciation for quality of build that, even a lot of buyers today don't even open a drawer.
No.
See what it was built like. And if they did open it, they wouldn't quite necessarily know, themselves what comprises good quality versus not, or what is fake. versus not. Just because you
Exactly.
open it up and you see wood doesn't mean it's wood.
Exactly.
It's paper
Exactly.
over top of
No, and
MDF.
it's worth it. Having good hinges,
Mhm.
it can last like 50 years. If
Yeah.
you have bad hinges after 3, 4, 5 years, you see your drawers weird. They start to have weird shapes
Yeah,
and they
everything's
close weird.
yeah,
Exactly. And that's because of the weight on the hinges. With no quality, it's just easy to understand.
right. Yeah.
The slides, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. So one other thing that I was like, I want to talk about is there's a myth that this article is very, very good. The enduring myth of the house flipper, whose impact on housing affordability has been overestimated. Because home flipping constitutes a small fraction of residential sales and flippers' profits are likely modest or non-existent,
Mhm,
Chris.
mhm.
This is exactly what we're talking about, okay? And we're just going to change province a little bit. So Statistics Canada has shed light on the extent of home flipping in BC, British Columbia, right? And the finding might surprise those who are quick to blame speculators and flippers for Canada worsening housing affordability, okay? So before going, in this further, I want to show you this chart. So you brought this point, which is a very good point. If you have a home less than 1 year, it's considered a flip.
Right.
Not necessarily in like a legal matter or income tax matter. That is different. But I believe last year there's a tax on house flipping.
Yeah.
Less than a year. Before was not like that. I have friends that used to work for CRA, Canadian Revenue Agency, and there was no law. It was just that if you're doing like too much of it, like 3, 4, and 5 years, then you'll be considered as
You get red flagged.
exactly red flagged, and that's an enterprise income, business income. So you would be like attacked, you know. It's that easy, okay? But now we have a law which is less than a year, you have a tax on flip, right?
Yeah.
So besides that, so that's the proportion of BC properties bought and resold, right? Held less than 6 months is in the blue. 6 months to less than 12 months, a year, is in yellow. And red is 1 year to less than 2 years.
Okay, so I mean, pretty obviously by this graph too, the vast majority of these are within that 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
I would stipulate that a very good percentage of house flipping actually occurs in that second piece as well. And it may not be that you're holding onto it for 2 years, but you're very good chance you're holding onto it for over a year. Because by the time you get it, do whatever demolition, do your renovation if you're doing any substantial amount, and then time on market with a couple of price reductions in there too. You may have held it for 13 months. Like I'll bet you a large percentage of those that are flips would be that 13-month. Just over a year.
That's my point.
2 years, but yeah, just enough where it's like, oh my God, this thing is a drain on my time, my finances, and I'm ready to just get rid of it.
Yes, that's my point. And I'm glad they put that also up to 2 years, because it's true. It's true. I had experiences of my friends or clients that have bought a lot, build a home alone, auto construction. Yeah. And after like 8, 9 months, less than a year, they were so exhausted, they just want to sell the house.
Yeah.
And that's not a flip. That's like buying a lot, having someone, like an architect do everything, and you do your own thing to save money. Like, of course, someone like excavates the earth, the foundation. Someone does that. It's true. But once the structure, then you finish it inside. And even that was so heavy on their life and their couple that they decided to sell it. And there's a lot of people that I know that did that. Yeah. After building, not flip, after building new home, they said, I don't want to do it. It's too much. Yeah. And emotionally charged, they didn't want to live inside that home.
I could certainly appreciate that even from, a personal sentiment. Doing this one here, my wife put in, not even hundreds, thousands of hours that she would involve me in, whether I wanted to be or not. But yeah, just seeing how much actually goes in, and then us still, in the end, kind of settling on some stuff, and then, a year and a half in, oh, I wish we hadn't settled on that. Oh, I wish we would have on this. Oh, I wish we'd spent more time on that. But you're exhausted.
Yeah,
It is exhausting.
it is. It is.
Really is. Yeah.
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 It's true. Yeah. And I just want to finish with this point. So the narrative that real estate investors, particularly those flipping homes, are inflating house prices has gained traction in Canada. This belief has prompted policy responses, including a federal measure effective January. See, I told you last year, so it was true.
Yeah.
Which taxes profits from properties sold within a year as business income. What did I tell you?
Yeah.
Business income.
Yeah.
So the BC government is following suit with a home flipping tax to be implemented in January 2025. So you'll have two taxes in BC, man, if you want to flip a home.
Yeah. Well, like I personally, and I know this isn't popular opinion, but I am for that. I think if you're doing all of this as businesses, that you should be, as a business, in so many of these different ventures. But yeah, it's going to be pretty damn tough to make any sort of a profit on this stuff at the end of the day. Getting into this, I guess the nice side of that is maybe it's a little bit more likely then to be left to those guys who do know what they're doing and who can do things efficiently and effectively.
Yeah,
hopefully, more so. Doesn't look like it's happening right now because we're going nuts with everybody becoming a builder, but we'll see.
Exactly. And to finish with this subject, so StatsCan reports 2.8% of homes sold in the province have been owned for less than a year from the time frame 2019 to 2021. Probably is the same right now, 2.83%. So
I can't see it altering too much.
It's not that big of a deal. 2.8% of the homes sold in the province of BC in this case.
Yeah. Well, you got to think on that side of it too. Many of these homes, they would have been done anyway. They're old. They need it.
Exactly.
They're outdated. They're whatever they are, or, and a lot of people do this. Do we renovate or do we move? So they move instead of renovating to a place that's been renovated by somebody else.
Exactly.
It's just a different person that did the renovation. It's going to happen anyway.
So funny. Yeah. Yeah. It's true, Chris. That's a very good point. So the last subject of today, Chris, would be I have two articles. So this one is the national home sales continue surging and prices rise amid falling interest rates. That's from CREA, in the Canadian press, right? So now the monthly sales, seasonally adjusted, are at 44,590, which is the highest. I'll bring this. See?
The past year.
Yeah, it's the highest in the past years from November 23. See? And I will ask after that. I will ask the question. We did. I believe we did a podcast, but I just want to inform people that since December 15, it's on, so people have access to those two changes. So the first one, that's from Government of Canada. So the first one is to lower the cost of down payments. Effective today, December 15, 2024, the federal government has increased the $1 million price cap for insured mortgages to $1.5 million. Okay, that's the first thing that they did to make housing more affordable. And the second thing, to lower monthly mortgage payments, the federal government reformed to make 30-year amortizations available to all first-time home buyers and to all buyers of new builds. Okay, so if you are a first-time home buyer, you can buy a resale home on the market, the resale market, or a new home with 30 years amortization. If you are not a first-time buyer, then you can only buy a brand new property and you can put it on a 30 years mortgage. Okay. So those information, this 2 points here, and the national home sales that continue surging. What I would like to know, your opinion, will next year be a little bit different than we thought a few weeks ago or a few months ago? You understand? Because we thought because of the renewal of the mortgages will be not that good. Now I see this surging, that surging, that surging. Yeah. Again, it changed. Everything changed. Nothing is guaranteed. And now we see it again.
Well, so actually, it's super funny you asked me that, because that is exactly just what I was thinking. It's like, I think I might have to backtrack on some of the things that I've been saying over the last little bit here too.
Yeah, me too.
And with interest rates particularly, because I mean, our primes keep falling. That's great, and that affects the variable, which is fantastic. You know, that gap's closing because variable is almost never ahead of fixed, but it has been substantially for a while. We've got all those mortgage renewals that are going to be coming up. You know, we've had that discussion multiple times, but fixed rate is tied to bonds.
Yep.
Bond rates in Canada are tied to bond rates in the States. Yep. Bond rates in the States don't seem to be going anywhere. I think we're going to be in a tough spot trying to figure out how to get this so that there aren't a lot of people that are in a lot of trouble with their mortgages and their mortgage payments.
Yeah,
coming up into the next 2 years here, possibly being forced to sell, possibly being a glut of properties coming onto the market, then that may be unavoidable. Because
do you understand? Do you understand? And the housing starts. We did a podcast. Are higher and higher in Alberta, are the highest.
Yeah.
So housing starts. Prices surging, rates drop, amortization to 30 years. So people, okay, we're going to buy, but at one point, when people will have to renew and you'll have 20 homes in a neighborhood that you used to have like 6 or 8 in the past years, that's 2 or 3 times the inventory. Mm-hmm. Buyers will have more choices. They'll have lower rates, so they'll have the power, 30 years amortization. They'll have a little bit more power, so they are serious buyers. But suddenly, what happens if they have more inventory?
Yeah.
Will they want to wait? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the dilemma.
Yeah. There's going to be so many factors coming up this next year.
Oh, yeah. 2025 is going to be amazing, Chris.
Oh, it's going to be a roller coaster.
Volatile, right? Exactly.
Yeah, I get a little motion sickness. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. Well, and one of the things that came up on that, we won't go into it this time because, oh my gosh, that's another whole ball of wax. But Freeland was mentioned in there. Well, Christian Freeland is not Christian Freeland no more.
Yeah.
By the time this podcast comes out,
probably she's going to be the prime minister.
Who knows? Well, sounds like she wants to run for it. But,
yeah, exactly.
Totally off topic, but I will say one thing on that whole thing. Beyond being overdue, sure like the way she called out our good old PM.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go any further into that, but I got to admit, I rather like that on the whole. People see through your ego.
Exactly, because she had to answer, because the guy was like with everybody, and last week PM, not PM, NMLA, I believe it's from Alberta, was doing like 68 scandals of this PM, and it's really bad if you go one by one.
Right.
Like some of them are disgusting, and I not even money, like person to person, really bad. And I didn't know that. So so he continued to do that, and she answered. I believe she had to answer, and she did, and she answered really, really good for her and bad for him.
I can't say that she's been my favorite person by any means.
Exactly. But this time,
I liked her in that moment. Yeah, I did like her in that moment. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Right. Exactly. So, Chris, I went over all the points that we had about these subjects. Do you have anything else to add?
I would say when you're doing house flipping, if you're planning on getting into it, if you're looking to make some changes, if you're just open to a little bit of feedback and advice from somebody who's shown a lot of these properties and kind of see buyers' reactions and my own personal reaction into these as well, get the advice of a designer. Don't pull all this stuff on your own. You may be really good at this, but there's so many other facets to it, and the people that are buying the property will look at it. Plan it out, for living as well as the initial looks, storage, laundry room facilities, just where things are located, having places functional, as well as looking good, and that everything kind of matches in together, and that the whole house, the whole property matches and goes together and looks proper together, and doesn't look like one thing is from one house and another is from an older house. Do all those things, plan it out properly, and stand a pretty good chance. So that's what I got.
That's great, Chris. That's great. I like this. This subject was pretty good, pretty intense. Let's hope people like it. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for your listening and for your support. And we will see each other next week. Ciao, everybody.